Good morning, Raymond. It looks like you're joining just a few minutes into our breakout rooms. We normally do a quick kind of networking before we dive into the speakers. So I'll go ahead and put you in a breakout room, and then you can connect with future entrepreneurs before we dive into the speakers. Um, Same good morning, Wumi, I think, and also John. All of you, welcome, welcome. I'm going to throw you into some breakout rooms for networking. They're doing quick 30-second intros and then discussing thoughts on the pumpkin spice latte. So I'll put you into breakout rooms. They know to expect latecomers, and we'll see you back here in just a few.
Thank you so much.
Of course. John, adding you right now. Great to see you. We'll see you back here in a bit.
Okay.
Good morning, Boulder Crust Miscellaneous. I hope you're in the right spot. This is the Atlanta Healthcare Entrepreneurship Meetup, and we are doing some networking right now. If you would like to connect, we're still going to be doing another 5 minutes of networking. So what folks know to expect, some latecomers. However, there we go. I was like, I see the name change. Welcome. You.
Hey, JC.
Hi.
Neil, thanks.
I was like, oh, I know this person. Great. Well, I'll throw you, you know the drill. I'm going to throw you in and we'll network, and we'll see you back here in about 5 or 10 minutes.
Great, thank you.
Oh, we are discussing thoughts on the pumpkin spice latte.
Interesting.
Yes. So see you soon.
All righty.
I've been on mute. My apologies. Hi, Cynthia. Welcome. You're joining for the Atlanta Healthcare Entrepreneurship Meetup. We are about to come back from breakout rooms. So I'm just going to hold you here. Just because they're almost done with your networking. Excuse me. Welcome and stay tuned. I'm going to call them back in 2 minutes.
Okay, thanks, Stacey.
No problem. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great.
Great.
I have a lot of little things going on, so I'm not going to be on video, but I thought I'd join anyway because I've only been to one other one of these.
Oh, great. I recognized your name. So I was like, I feel like you had been to one in the past. So welcome again, and no video required. So there you are.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm going to call him back in just like 2 minutes. So I'm sorry you didn't get a network, but it sounds like you're okay because you're a busy bee.
Yes. We sat together. That's how I know you. We sat
At
together.
a Women in Tech?
Was something like, it might have been in like one of the first inclusive dinners, maybe.
Oh, I was just talking about those. That might be. Well, I was like, your name sounds so familiar. That's wonderful. Welcome. Good to see you again.
Yes.
Daval, I apologize that if I got that wrong. We're just about to end networking. And so normally we do a little bit of networking in the beginning, but I'm gonna hold you here and I'm gonna bring them back in right now. So we'll start the presentations in just a few. But welcome.
Thank you.
Of course. Sometimes it takes a second for them to come back. Welcome, SC. We're about to dive into the programming. I've just called everyone back from networking. So, hi, Neil. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. I'm sure I interrupted amazing networking around pumpkin spice lattes. I'm sure of it because Neil was the first one back. Neil, why don't you just give us your quick thoughts? Would love to hear succinct thoughts on the PSL.
On the no, I'm not a big coffee drinker.
No.
I stayed away from coffee, and that's just purposely. I think I became a bit of a coffee addict at one time in my life, and when you start getting jitters and everything, you kind of stay away from it totally. So I don't touch coffee at all. Sorry,
okay.
Not to answer you.
Good to know. It's good to have all people in all camps. Okay, I love to see it. Well, thank you for sharing. I do want to get to the speakers, but before that, as some of you know, I know some of you have been here with us for quite a lot of events. We love to do a group shot, and since we're not in person today, we do have in-person events and may have some more in the future. But I love to take a group shot, which means look fabulous. I'm going to give you a countdown. I think everyone who's on video will be able to. I'm going to count down twice. Okay, so I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. Click. 1, 2, 3. Click. So on the count of 3, everyone look sharp. 1, 2, 3. All right, 1 second. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Y'all look fabulous. I love it. All right. So I'm going to invite AT to leave his screen on, and then Rachel, we'll obviously have her do a little more background, but Rachel will kick us off. So everyone else mute, turn your video off, and this will allow for amazing conversation from each of the startups. So I will let that happen, and then we will dive in. Okay.
Well, great. Well, thanks everyone. Hopefully you met some good connections there. But again, as JC mentioned, we're going to have each of the speakers go for about 10 minutes. They'll talk and present for about 5 to 7 minutes. and then answer some Q&A. So if you have questions while they're presenting, put them in the chat, and we'll call those out to them towards the end of their 10 minutes. So with that, I'll let Rachel from Syntax Health kick us off.
Awesome. I'm going to try to share my screen here. Let me know if you can see it. Awesome. Yep. Thank you for the thumbs up. So really quick on me, Rachel Jones, co-founder and CEO of Syntax Health. I'm just moving my Zoom box so I can still see your face, AT. Thank you. Over 25 years in healthcare at this point, closer to 27. Spent half my career on the operations side, leading analytics and total cost of care, health economics teams at places like Anthem, which you guys might know as Elevance, as well as Health First. I actually was from New York and New Jersey. I moved here in the pandemic. So I grew up, most of my career spent in the tri-state area up north. Other half of my career spent at technology companies, leading product teams and P&Ls. I led the product team at TriZeta, which is now part of Cognizant. And after that, spent time at Cotiviti, which was based in Atlanta, which is what brought me here 4 years ago, and led the P&L for quality and analytics. All that time, the last 15 years, focused on value-based care. If you guys don't know what value-based care is, it's a specific part of payment mechanism or payment model for incentivizing behaviors that drive better quality outcomes and improve cost in healthcare. And a lot of folks like myself believe it's the way for us to bend the curve and really improve healthcare across this nation. And I spent 15 years leading teams doing that. I grew Anthem's value-based care footprint from about 4 million lives to over 12 million lives, and it's continued to grow after that. And really seeing firsthand the challenges that providers face in trying to transition to value-based care. It's a lot of, I'll talk about that in a second, but it's a very different kind of math and payment model that a lot of providers and payers are used to. And so seeing those challenges led us to start this company, which I'll tell you all about in a minute. And what I'm excited to share with you today is kind of our journey and what we've developed in the market, and specifically around the challenges of trying to, move value-based care forward. I'll share with you that this financial opportunity is significant for organizations who are looking to get into value-based care. FQHCs alone, which are a specific kind of provider, they're federally qualified health centers that you might see in the communities that you live in today that serve typically the underserved, folks who have, significant healthcare issues. Organizations like that have the ability to earn up to $11 billion in incentives, but only if they know how to successfully contract in value-based care. And the majority of physicians today talk about the fact that trying to move to value-based care has not been easy. It's a lot of, confusion and lack of confidence and efficiencies that are lacking to help organizations make that move. 3 primary reasons why you see that being a challenge for provider organizations and plans, frankly, is lack of confidence in what they're signing, lack of the skill set to understand the risk models. You are taking on financial risk, and typically that requires a level of actuarial analytics or higher level analytics to understand what risk you should take on. And then trying to do the negotiations themselves can be a long, drawn out process. And so for us at Syntax, we really focused on how do you create a system that marries the actuarial credibility that you need to confidently take on risk with a workflow and automation that will resolve the manual, redundant, and inefficiencies that are sort of inherent in healthcare, period, but certainly in value-based care contracting. So we've created a platform that ingests data from our clients, allows them to build, we call them sort of, sandbox or scenarios. We build and design different models. There are different types of payment models that you can negotiate in a value-based care setting, whether that be a shared savings or a shared savings upside, downside. I don't want to get too technical for folks if it's not your area of expertise, but the point being here, you can model contracts and understand what your projected revenue is. If you're a provider, if you're a player, understand your projected savings and do that work to really get confident in what kind of contract is best designed for you. We've also built and introduced the industry's first and only 2-sided negotiator. Today, negotiation happens in a very painful process that's battling Excel spreadsheets, email hell, and back and forth PDFs, and long drawn out process to make changes and have to go back and remodel those changes. So we thought, why not take the same principles that you have in a TurboTax or a DocuSign and marry them together and create automation that says, if I'm doing a value-based care deal with you, let's have the platform facilitate that back and forth where either side can model and reject and accept terms, but we're using the same tool, we're using the same language and the same data. So we're not having to fight about whose member is my member and is that my cost or not. We've already addressed that in the platform. And after you've done that and you've finalized your agreement, the real work begins in trying to understand how am I doing in that measurement period. Again, value-based care is very different from fee-for-service or traditional payment models. You have a window of performance where we're collecting data, we're seeing how you're managing that bucket of patients that you have, they call it attribution, we'll use simple terms, that you have assignment for, right? How are you managing that care? That's usually about a 12-month period and usually a 6 months run out for claims. So it's an 18-month look back, right? It's a long time to wait to see how you're doing and then to find out that you've missed the mark. So our software allows us to ingest that data and compare the refresh data against the original assumptions and say, oh man, you are way off the mark. You've missed your quality scores by X. You did not, meet your wellness visits, or your costs and your trends are crazy because you had, a very expensive case that came through and kind of threw off your risk. Whatever it is, we can look at those insights and help providers and payers course correct and address those issues within the measurement period, with the goal of actually earning the savings or revenue that they hope to see. And then we have the ability to manage the end-to-end, right? So this is all about giving folks a one-stop shopping to manage a book of business that can be quite significant when you're trying to manage that. So that's what we built. In terms of our adoption, we are working today with about 12 clients altogether. We launched our product last September, launched the company 2 years ago in 2022, and really focusing on serving organizations who are trying to improve their accuracy, improve efficiency, and reduce administrative burdens. Tell me how I'm doing on time, AT. I got a few more slides.
I got like 2 minutes left. I want to give you some time for questions. So.
Yeah, sure, for sure. So that's what we do. I have some screenshots in here. I'm happy to share that with folks at the end of the day, but I'll pause for questions now and see what's coming through.
Yeah, I'll start with one and others feel free to put questions in the chat. So you mentioned you're working with sort of your 12 customers or so right now, which is great. What's been your biggest learning so far from what you originally thought they needed to where your direction you're headed now?
Yeah, I think because of who we're working with, we've sort of worked with a mix of sort of two pockets of the industry so far. Digital health companies. So these are folks who are launching sort of tech-based wraparound services. So think, retinopathy or home infusion therapy for cancer patients, right? They have a digital healthcare model and they're trying to figure out how to take on risk with a health plan. So we've helped them figure that out. The other side of our sort of client base has been these community health centers who, that was the surprise. We went into this going after health plans first because I came from health plans, I knew that language. And then we realized that health plans have a much longer sales process because you have to convince a lot of people to make this change. So we started talking to folks like community health centers who were desperate for a solution like ours and didn't have big analytics teams and, frankly, needed the help right away. And so we leaned into that and were able to help them achieve some significant results. For example, in just one contract, we helped a health center in Florida identify over $600,000 in savings from just one contract. And so that's been a really exciting thing to see and help sort of create value. And then working with CHCs, they take that value and put it right back into their organizations, which is awesome from an ethical perspective.
Awesome. Well, I love you getting the real results there, Rachel. And thank you so much for sharing Syntax. Others, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat for Rachel and she can reply in the chat. But thank you so much for sharing. Joe, bring you on next.
Right.
All right, take it away, Joe.
Ooh, let me get my screen shared. All right. See my deck?
Yes, we're good.
All right. Cool. Thanks, everybody. I'm Joe Guster, CEO of DentaFlo, where we help dental practices be more productive with our productivity-focused platform of analytics and patient self-scheduling. So before I get into DentaFlo, let me start with the original problem that I was helping solve at Care Mobile about 2 years ago. So in the US, over 70 million people live in dental deserts where they don't have adequate access to dental services. And so with our backstory, being founded by Dr. Kwon Watson about 7 years ago, we started off as a mobile app that was used to connect patients with same-day availability at dental offices due to cancellations. That idea progressed into mobile vans when Dr. Watson couldn't monetize it. We needed insurance companies to pay for it because it was free to the patient, free to the practices. And so what he did was pivoted to delivering the services via mobile vans, right? And so we have a fleet of mobile vans that go around delivering services, mostly in Kentucky, but we're in a lot of different states in the South, in the Midwest. And with that, of course, came the need to optimize the schedule. And that's where DentaFlo was originally created. After some pivots in the business model, we modified DentaFlo to work with all practices, whether they're mobile or brick and mortar. And so at the end of the day, the pain point for most businesses and practices is they're not profitable. And so as I look at our different customer segments that we could work with, you might be a single practice owner who's having a difficult time with staff putting appointments on the schedule with the right procedures and time allotments. Or you could be a federal qualified health center and you may not even be focused on your dental arm. Your dental arm is underperforming. At large DSOs, profits are lost in inefficient workflows. Or you could even be a mobile hygienist who just doesn't have the time or staff to answer every call to ensure your schedule stays full. So that's where DentaFlo comes in to provide dental professionals the tools to be more productive. Through our patented scheduling algorithm for patient self-scheduling and our forward-looking data analytics dashboard, we're able to fill the schedule with profitable appointments as well as provide key insights for the practice to become more efficient. At the core, everything we do is productivity. So we provide views and dashboards where decisions on items like staffing can be easily made. We also provide insights into items like acceptable lab and supply costs all the way down to provider compensation. The patient self-scheduling features allow the practice to be able to book appointments 24/7. Whether you're understaffed and missing calls throughout the day or onboarding a new associate, DentaFlo can help fill the schedule. So we make it easy for both new and existing patients to schedule an appointment without interacting with staff. So scheduling their first appointment or their next appointment in a treatment plan series has never been easier. Experience is everything, and DentaFlo breaks the cycle of ugly and non-user-friendly dental software as well. So we definitely honed in on not only being able to ensure that the appointments are productive, but also ensuring that the experience is great as well. And so what we found out last year in a partner with a partner last year in a survey in one of the accelerators we were in, that over 75% of patients wanted to schedule via a mobile app or a website rather than calling in to speak to a representative. In that same survey, we also asked dental providers about offering self-scheduling solutions and found out that about 75% of them had not even considered doing that. And so we are bridging that gap right now. And there's a lot of different concerns that dental practices may have, but with our chief clinical director, Dr. Kwon Watson, who's been doing this for 25 years, we have pretty much taken all the complexity out of scheduling and made it easy and put it into an algorithm to make it super easy for patients to self-schedule. Looking at a couple of our competitors, once again, everybody does the stationary scheduling, the easy top of the funnel type things, cleanings, consultations, emergency type stuff where everything is pretty straightforward, 45-minute to hour appointments. But we're the only product out there that can also do the mobile scheduling as that market is growing. And as I mentioned, treatment plan scheduling as well. So after our patient's been seen, they can also come back and self-schedule all of their treatment plan visits. And then we're also directly integrated with Dentrix Ascend rather than using some of those scraper tools out there. And so that provides extra speeds and security as well. And so DentaFlo sits in the dental practice management space where practices purchase a core system and then additional integrations. That market size is about 2.3 billion with about almost 200,000 dental practices. Once we establish ourselves in the dental space, we know we can move onto all of healthcare where the global practice management system market size is around 10.73 billion. Because we were originally built for mobile, the mobile needs of care mobile, we also poised to take advantage of the growing mobile dental unit market as well. What's next for our product? We have integrations that we're looking to do with Open Dental, and Curve and some other providers to increase our total addressable market. And then there's just a few features that we have. Our MVP has been in production for a few months now with Care Mobile, and we've scheduled over 1,000 appointments via that application, and we're seeing great feedback. And that's it for the deck. And then I just really want to go through the flow of the app really quickly. So quick demo. So this is our experience right here. This is our staging environment. Like I said, we work with both new and existing patients. I'll just go through the new patient workflow. And as I'm going through this, think about this working on a mobile phone. So we made everything responsive, mobile responsive. Just trying to make this as simple as possible. And so our motto is getting on the schedule as fast as it takes to brush your teeth. I don't know if we have any UK fans, but our original founder went to University of Kentucky, so that's why we're using Kentucky addresses. And so once we get here, we kind of bucket all of our appointments into 4 types of buckets: cleaning, emergency, consultation. Treatment plan is not shown here because this patient's never been seen. But if I just go ahead and select one of these, say emergency, we're able to go ahead and allow this patient to put in additional information that's going to get synced up to our practice management system. And then what's provided is different locations. And since we're mobile vans, our brick and mortar, so these options can represent any type of location. And then we also have the same concierge service that we were originally built into the system for an additional fee. So I can come in here easily, select the time, and book my appointment. Here we go. So I'm on the schedule now. Our team, the team at the practice can now go through and do everything that they do. And then finally, I just wanted to show, don't have time to show the full demo on scheduling a full treatment plan. But when I talk about treatment plan scheduling, we talk about as a patient I've been seen, and for instance, this patient is going to have a bunch of extractions and get dentures and things like that. So they have 3 visits. It gets a lot more complicated than a cleaning. And we are the only solution out there that allows patients to schedule these appointments, self-schedule these appointments. Awesome. I'll stop there, and that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Joe. Looks very good. A couple questions came in from the audience here. One is, how does it integrate with the current scheduling software or practice management software, or is this a standalone thing?
It's a standalone thing. Well, it integrates, but in the practice management space in dental, like none of the systems offer everything everybody needs. So everybody usually buys the core, and then they have to bolt on integrations like us, and that's where we kind of sit. So right now we're integrated directly with a practice management system called Dentist Ascend that's developed by Henry Schein.
Got it. And then another question came in around, you mentioned mobile scheduling, what % of dental visits are mobile, and how big of a market is mobile?
I don't have those numbers, but I should check on those. We've been so hyper-focused on the stationary and getting this out to the 200,000 practices right now that are stationary or brick and mortars.
Got it. Well, cool. Well, looks good. Looks good, Joe. Thanks for sharing with us.
Appreciate it.
And if anybody has any other questions for Joe, wants to connect with Joe, feel free to put questions there in the chat. All right. And then last but not least here, Franklyn, if you want to come on and talk about Dinma.
Yes. Thanks, Eti.
All right. Take it away, Franklyn.
I will share my screen quickly. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, perfect. Good. Yeah, so building Franklyn, we're building Dinma, which is a platform to enable independent providers, MDs, NPs, to deliver on-demand urgent care to the patient's home. I'm an MD, but since, over the past few years, I've been working in healthcare, started out at Oscar Health. Yeah, I led the P&L and performance team in Florida, and grew our membership by 400% in Central and West Florida. In addition to that, also led the value-based care project to transition, Oscar Health, biggest provider partner at that time, to value-based care, and that involved over $1 billion of claims. We successfully, signed the term sheet for that transition. And then I spent, a number of time at BCG before eventually leaving to start working on Dinma. In terms of the problem that we're trying to solve is in twofold. So if you, think about patients, and young people particularly that are used to accessing, services conveniently on demand, what we'll find is they're just, not very good options to be able to access urgent care on demand. And, the consequence is young people are kind of, staying away from primary care as it is and mostly relying on urgent care. But then if you look at options to access urgent care, oftentimes it's not a very good experience that you have to, go to these places and wait for an indeterminate amount of time before you see. And then if you look at the other side of what we're trying to solve on the patient side, you find that, at the same time when you're seeing lots of private practices being shut down and most providers being employed, providers generally are just not happy with their experience, in most of these big health systems. And so what we're trying to build is a two-sided marketplace where we help providers, independent providers could be employed, they could be with us full-time or part-time, but we help them to start a very highly configurable practice. Highly configurable in the sense that they are able to set the zip codes, the areas where they want to see patients at home, and the times that work for them, and we help match them to patients that meet their criteria. We launched about 1 month ago, and since then we've signed up 5 providers with 4 on the wait list. For the providers that join our platform, we provide the end-to-end support that they need to see patients at home, and then we try to match them with patients. So far, we've done a few visits with great feedback from patients, but I'll pause and switch to sharing my screen, kind of sharing our app to demonstrate how the product works. Is my screen up?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So our platform, getdinma.com, is currently a web app, allows, right now, think about it as the simplest and, the fastest way to request an in-person medical consultation. The current experience with, getting an in-person consultation, is either you go to a doctor's office or you go to an urgent care center. With doctor's offices, you have to call and spend time on the phone to verify your insurance. And even after you do that, oftentimes it takes weeks, a couple of days before you have to see someone. And, these appointments typically involve, long waits and coincide with the times when most people are busy at work. For urgent care, it's almost the same thing, apart from most urgent cares accept walk-ins. But then the attendance, issues, it's waiting, with, sitting down with a bunch of other sick people and possibly exposed to infections also persist. And so what we're thinking is, for young people who just value convenience, always looking for the easiest way to access a service, we're trying to provide the easiest and fastest way for them to access a doctor's, to access a medical consultation. So the product is a two-sided marketplace. Providers can sign up, and once they sign up, we're able to provide them with the tools that they need to see patients. And patients, on the other hand, can come on the platform and request a visit. So if you come on the platform, you can actually check out the profile of the providers that you want to interact with. For instance, this provider, finished her residency from Emory and, is able to see patients around the zip codes in Marietta and Florida. And so you could review profiles of providers and, you can decide to book with a specific provider, or you could just go ahead to, find the provider that best, meets, that best fits your needs. So, just trying to demo a quick booking, for instance, we start with asking a couple of questions so that we can match you with the right provider that works for you. So start with just the symptoms that you're currently experiencing. All of this information is encrypted, so it's very secure. Let's say the patient wants to see a provider today, and the patient is 23 years old and stays in this zip code in Florida. Once you click the confirm button, we show you the potential providers that you can see and the times that they are available to see you, but the patient has to sign in to finalize that booking. What happens here, really, we have a proprietary algorithm that is able to take the booking parameters that you have entered and use that to find the best provider that's closest to you and, is able to see you within the time range that you want to see, and also able to have some experience in being able to address the needs that you have. So, at this point, patients would sign into the app. And then once you do, we verify your home address, because this is the information we're going to be sending to the provider to be sure we send the right provider to you. And you can see the few providers that are available to see you. At this point, you can select the time that works for you for the consultation. Once you select, you are able to click on the button and, finalize the appointment request. This is the patient's homepage. Once you send in the appointment request, the request is pending, the provider name, and the provider can receive a notification both on their phone and in their email, where they can go into their platform, they can review the request, accept the request, and send you the time that they are going to be arriving, to see you. But ultimately, from when you come on when you open up the web page to when you finalize your appointment request, typically that will take about 3 to 4 clicks, and you're done. And, like I said, we're trying to build the simplest, way for people to be able to access medical consultation and provide that end-to-end support for providers to be able to see patients, part-time or full-time, depending on what works for them. I think I'll pause the demo now and take any questions. Otherwise, I can also go ahead to demo things on the provider side.
Great. Well, thanks, Franklyn. A couple of questions came in here. The first is, how do patients become aware of you to even know to schedule something?
Yeah, very good question. And that's something we're still working through. One thing we're trying to do is to get in network with insurance. That would enable us to leverage partnerships. That would enable us to, be on the directory of these, big payers and help us to be, seen when patients are trying to find in-network options. The other option we're looking at is also partner with employers. That gives us access to the employees within, a particular geography, and we can serve those employees and be able to market directly to those people. Beyond partnerships, we tend to be very hyperlocal in the sense that we focus on specific zip codes, cities, neighborhoods. And so what we tend to also do for those areas is to look for daycares, look for places where we find lots of young people getting together and just reaching out and talking to people, in those neighborhoods and be able to, get interest from people who might benefit from this service. And then ultimately, once we're able to get that initial, interest from from people, we then have to depend on just the quality of the care that we deliver at home, and which can help us to grow through word of mouth.
Got it. Thanks. One last question here that we got was, how do you think about response time? I guess, meaning, like, from a patient, what's the expectation that I want to be able to get somebody in an hour or a day or just next day? And then from the provider side, how available are they? Like, are they saying I'm available tomorrow and fill up a schedule, or it's just like, hey, I'm available, and if something comes up, I can try and get it in the next hour or 4 hours or whatever the time is? What have you learned about response time?
So I think with response times, I think a key thing is being able to manage expectations on both the provider and the peer end. On the patient end, you can only request an appointment for a specific time and a specific day. And so that helps to manage expectations. So if you need to see a provider today, you can go in and request for an appointment today. But then you are not going to see any availability, up until 2 hours from the time when you're seeking an appointment, right? So if I try to book an appointment now, I'm only going to see availability. Let's say right now it's about 9 a.m. The earliest availability I would see is 11 a.m. That gives the provider enough time to receive the appointment request and be able to get ready to see you, but also ensures that the appointment is not too, the available time is not too far removed from what would be, considered immediate for the patients. So just managing expectations for both ends and ensuring that providers have enough time to respond to any request.
Great. Well, thank you, Franklyn. At this time, I'd like to invite Rachel and Joe and Franklyn to come back on the screen here, and we'll give each of them, a quick chance for a plug for anything that they need with their business, whether it's a new hire or an intro to somebody or feedback on a topic. So maybe Rachel, we'll start with you. Anything you want to put out to the audience that you're looking for that maybe they can help with?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And thank you guys again for the opportunity to share. I would do a demo, but it would take us the entire hour trying to do a demo of an actuarial contract modeling platform. So anyone interested in the demo, always happy to do that. I do have my QR code at the end of my presentation had the link to our 5-minute demo, but I forgot to share that. So if anyone's interested, I'm happy to share that also. You can find me on LinkedIn. In terms of asks, for us, we're talking to a lot of provider organizations. So if you know a provider organization, provider system, obviously a CHC or a FQHC provider, would be happy to share with them. We've created a really nice sort of phased approach to working with organizations who are newer to value-based care. So, we work with folks and we meet them where they are. No need to be an expert. We can help you get there. So always welcome intros. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Rachel. Would you mind putting your LinkedIn and that link to the demo video in the chat? That way folks can see it that way. Thanks. Joe, how can we be helpful?
Yeah, so for us, we've literally been building this tool inside of care for the last couple of years. And so now we're really splitting it out and trying to give it its own legs. So for right now, those 3 things for us, customer introduction. So if you know any practices that are dental practices that may be interested, they don't necessarily need to be on Dentistry Ascend, but we're always looking for more connections from that standpoint to get into the pilot and continue to grow and get that first full release out. And then we are actually raising a round, so any investor introductions would be awesome as well. And then if you want to either invest in Care Mobile or DentaFlo, we can actually talk about that a little bit more. Dr. Quan Watson was on for a second, but he's actually busy now. But we can definitely connect on that as well.
Great. Thanks, Joe. And Joe, if you want to put your contact info in the chat as well, so folks can reach out to you on that topic. Franklyn.
Yeah, thanks, Eti. 2 things that would be very impactful for us. One is just connections to any employers in network that would, mid-sized employers that we can partner with to make, at-home urgent care available to their employees. Time away from work is a huge resource drain for employers. We could send providers to the office, depending on what works, or to just any other preferred location. and we could help, employees get on their feet more quickly. And say, if you know any employer that you think would be worth talking to, we'd be happy to have the intros to the right people in the organization. And then 2, we also accepting angel checks. So if you find this interesting, feel free to reach out, and happy to dive deeper into what we're trying to do on our model.
Great. Thanks, Franklin. And would you mind putting your contact info in the chat as well so folks can reach out to you there? All right. Well, with that, thanks again to our presenters today, for sharing more about some cool things being built here in the Atlanta area. JC just put a feedback form there. So any feedback on this event or future ones, love your response there in the chat. I think one of the things that we're talking about for our next one is we may have an investor panel. So I know folks who are looking for investment as well as others, we may have specifically bring some investors to the table for our next one. And we've talked about doing that potentially in person later this fall, maybe November, December timeframe here as well. So if you have any thoughts on that, fill out JC's form about whether we want to do in person or virtual for those. And then, lastly, we've got, future events will be posted on our website, or sign up for our meetup group and you'll get those automatically. We also have resources there. If you have a business, we're happy to post your healthcare business on the site. So when we have investors or folks coming looking around, they can see your company listed there. And then just in the meantime, I appreciate all what you're doing, supporting entrepreneurs in healthcare. I know it's a challenging role as an entrepreneur, especially in the healthcare space. So appreciate everybody's optimism and enthusiasm to go after that. Well, with that, JC, anything else you want to add?
That's it. Thanks all so much for coming. Again, as AT said, I put some links in the chat. However we can be helpful and make connections, I think that's the vision of these, as AT said. Excuse me. So yeah, connect with us. We love helping to make connections between others. I saw a couple folks in the chat who said they were willing to connect. So hopefully there's opportunities in the future. And then, excuse me, we do love feedback. We want to make sure we can be as helpful to Joe, to Rachel, and to Franklin and others as possible. So how can we build better bridges, build better connections between everything? So your feedback is super important. If anyone has a chance. And then of course we do have a monthly newsletter. So on the end of that survey, you can also subscribe to that if you don't, to stay at the loop and all the things that Atlanta Ventures and our community is doing. So with that, we have 2 minutes. We'll give you back to your time. Go forth and use them well. We're so thankful y'all were here. Appreciate everyone. And we will see you at the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Adios.
Thanks.
Thanks so much.